Evening. Well, we've been hard at it, although not all successful. However, we've got some success, that's all that matters, isn't it? So, the connecting rod. I had a big problem with this. There is, if you remember, in my last video, I welded that on there, like that. Well, there's no way I can drill square. I'm not making excuses. You know, it's not a bad workman blaming his tools, it's the fact that, for instance, just for instance, you get a top barber and you go to him for a haircut and you take his scissors away and give him a blunt knife, you'll get a mess, won't you? Well, that's what I'm facing. Anyway, just to get these holes, to try and get these square, I thought, well, if I just get a waste block and drill a hole through there and then put that in there like that and drill through the top, let me just move it on here to show you better, and drill through the top, it should be the same alignment as the drill. Fair enough. So that worked. As you can see, that did actually work because they are actually pretty square. Anyway, I then had to drill the hole for the crank journal, and I couldn't make it. It would have worked if I'd left it quite a bit larger, but it would have looked, well, it would look rubbish, to be honest. So I've been, what, 2 days, must have had 10 hours I think altogether. I mean, this is steel, remember, sawing and filing it, it's not still finished, but remember the chunk I started with, you know, it's been hard work. Anyway, I did, if you look, get that a good fit on the crank journal. Got that a nice fit, but the problem was that wasn't quite square, so I've opened that hole out that cap screw goes through, and I've rounded the end and countersunk that so I can twist it round, and that is now fairly square. Now when you see these small models, you will notice that they all use, even the ones that you buy in the shop, they all use a thinnish piece that is self-centering, because what was happening was, as that went round like that, the rod was going from side to side and it would have vibrated, so it wouldn't have worked. It's simple as that. So, you know, without accurate tools, that's it. But as I've said in the past many times, I mean, all I'm doing is I'm making a steam engine out of drink cans, you know. If you want to see one of these little models that look like they've been made in a factory with a robot on top CNC machines, well, you're in the wrong place, aren't you? No, and I'm not having a go at anyone, by the way, you know, but I'm just trying to explain that it hasn't worked, not because of bad workmanship, because of no tools. Because I mean, some of these drills that I've got, in this box for instance especially, some of these drills, and I can almost guarantee that that one is, now they were given to me by an old man who must have got them from work in the 60s, you know, so that drill's probably seen 50 years service. I mean, you know, you can't expect miracles, can you? You know, you can expect it to get a hole, but you can't expect miracles. So, you know, and but the drills and tap that I did buy to do this job, if you remember, now what did I do with that tap? I've been using it. Anyway, you know my little tap that I bought, and these drills that I bought that were the correct size, well of course they've worked. I mean, I've tapped holes in aluminium, I've tapped holes in brass, there, and I've also tapped holes in steel. And it's all worked perfectly, you know, and I haven't broken a tap. And I don't know if you remember in the first video I came in with a bag from the shop and I said, oh, I've got 2 taps. Well, when I get home I find I've only got 1, so I asked for 2. Anyway, never mind, we haven't broke 1, that's all that matters. Now the other thing is, let's go on to the successes, and there are some. I have managed today to make the support, and at the end I will show you, I'll put it together. I was hoping today to have all the connecting rod done and wind it round to see the piston going in and out, but we're not going to get that today. Anyway, I have got that done, and again it might need a little bit of fitting, moving that hole around, you know, whatever, but that'll do for that. Anyway, I've also come up with an idea of how to hold the liner in, because I thought, well, it's got to be held in, and if I put a screw in the side, it's got to press it in. And so what I've done, and it's worked, what I've done is bell the end of the pipe out, and I tried it on this scrap piece, and I just wind the vise up a little bit, put it in the vise like that, just with a bit on the end, and just hit it with the ball end of the hammer like that, holding it tight, and kept going round like that, and just belled the end out. So that is now a tight fit in the top spacer. Oh, put to open the vise again. In the top spacer of the top cap, right, of the retaining cap in the top. That's now a tight fit, and I've sanded it down to be just about a thou above flush. Now in a minute I'll put this together, and hopefully this will be for the final time. I'm going to use gasket cement, not because it needs any, but it'll more or less act as filler around there, you know. So when you see the finished thing, because this, as you can see, when I cut it off, I did it with a disc on the angle grinder, so of course I've lost a little bit, and it doesn't fit exactly on the outside. It's pretty good. I don't know if you can see that if you turn it round. Yeah, you can there. Just there, look. See that indent? It fits, but there's a little tiny bit missing. So, if I put a thin smear of gasket cement around the top, that'll fill that gap, and it'll more or less act as filler. That's all it is. So right, what I'm going to do now, I'll be back in a moment, and I'm just going to pop that on, and that'll be finished. Oh, and by the way, I probably forgot to tell you, these brass screws I think you were using originally, I'm using those to hold it on, because I thought, well, when it's finished, those polished up will look nicer than those black cap screws, that's all. Right, so I'll just be back with you in a moment. Now, normally I'd have had a good clean up and that, but in this instance it doesn't matter, because we don't want to swore for that in it. There's got to be some more in anyway. So it'll have to have a clean up at the end. So all I'm going to do is just put a thin smear of gasket cement on here. Don't need a lot, but like I say, it's filler on the outside instead of using filler, because you'll see at the end result why. And it'll stick it on. And using those brass screws, well, I can't get them very tight other than like the cap screws, so you know, it'll take any little imperfections out, won't it? That's the thing. So I only want to smear like that, you see on there, and then that goes on, hopefully for the final time. Yeah. And then I'm going to do the same for the top, and put as I say, not a lot, but a fairly liberal coating on, especially on the outside. because it's going to, as I said, more or less act as filler rather than anything, you know. Leave it raised up and I can wipe off the excess on the outside, and it'll just fill a few gaps in, that's all. As I say, totally unnecessary, because I've left that slightly proud, so when it's screwed down, you know, like a proper liner, so when it's screwed down, that's the only seal it needs. This doesn't need sealing at all. So we'll put, as I say, a fairly liberal coating just on the outside edge, and that should do that. So we put that on there, and put these screws in. I better put my glasses on so I can see the holes on it. And then I'm going to take these screws out to polish the heads probably, that's all. Well, I'm going to have to take them out when I paint it, aren't I? So it's irrelevant. But we've got these screws. This is what I was planning on using originally. And I've got a tap that fits a 2BA tap, that is. The other one's metric size. I don't know exactly what it is, but anyway, it's a metric size. So we just screw these down, and then that is more or less the barrel assembly finished. So that's a step forward. As I said, it's a pity that I couldn't get that com rod to work, because, you know, I was looking forward to showing you, you know, the whole thing assembled and turn the crank round and piston going in and out. Anyway, you'll get to see it sometime, no doubt. And also, I can't do what I normally do, and that's get all these in the same orientation. They've got to be tight, and I mustn't go any more because it will strip the threads and ruin the top like I did there. So that's that one. That's tight, and that's tight. Remember, it has to bend it very slightly. So there we are. So anyway, as you can probably see, when that's, because I haven't got to paint this, you know, I probably told you, probably haven't, can't remember. So when that's done, that's not going to look too bad, I don't think. So that's finished, and that liner is absolutely solid now. There's no way in the world it'll move. Right, what I'm going to do is just put that back on there, and we'll show you it with the new piston slider mount. Now, I also, by the way, have finished the base. I don't know if you noticed that, because I had to do that, otherwise I'd ground some off there and that wouldn't work. Now I can't, in fact, line it up yet. There we are. I can't tighten everything up until I'm finished on all the alignment, and as you can see, it's, but anyway, you can see, look, the piston does now go in and out, but like I say, until I get it's about in line there. That's, I'm looking at that from the side, and that's just about spot on. So it's a shame that that this crankshaft didn't work, really, because it would have looked good. You know, I'm sure you can agree with that on the end. Two little caps, you know, that nipped up. That could have been cut off and finished off with the rod onto there, and it goes in to, well, that's about where it wants to be. It wants to be just this way a little bit. Don't want to be hitting the head, and that would come to there, you see, about there somewhere. Anyway, we haven't got that, but what we have got is, of course, I'll have to do it the way that everybody else does, won't I? And that's with my bit of brass. I've got plenty of this for 2 pieces. It's still thick enough, look. I mean, that's not going to look too bad, is it? If I cut a piece off there, around that end, and I'll finish it with some decoration or something, And then that's right in, obviously. So probably, I'm only guessing this, probably about that sort of length, you know, I'm not sure. Let's turn that over there, and we've got plenty of room, you see. I could have it that length, but it must be fairly long, but I think it'll look about right there, something like that. And then that, of course, I don't have to narrow a tang down, I'll just slot that to take that. That's what we're going to have to do there. So, it'll work, but it's just not quite what I was hoping for. Anyway, there's a little update for you. I'll just finish off with showing you the base finished, because it's not come too badly. I had to work out, that took quite a while to do, because I had to work out where everything went, including the space for the spool valve, of course. Anyway, as I said, I drilled like in that piece, which I drilled that to allow me to sand it, and it's come fairly good now. That's going to have to be acceptable. Anyway, there we are. As I said, I was hoping to turn the flywheel around and show you the piston going in and out, but you'll see it another day. We're getting on there, aren't we? We've got the barrel all finished now. You saw me put the head on, that's finished, totally finished. I've still obviously got this mount to do to finish off, and that mount and a little bit of fitting to do, but I can't do that until I get the connecting rod made. And as I've been struggling with this for a few days, you know, it's sort of, well, it's not holding the job up, is it? Because there's no time limit, you know. Well, probably up to my funeral. I better get on there, so I have to have my funeral first. But there we are. Right. Just a bit of an update for you today, and then next time, I'm hoping that when I turn the flywheel around, you'll see the piston going in and out. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to shorten that very slightly. I forgot to tell you that. But that is now in and fast. That bolt there is loose, that's why it's wobbling. Because if I can tighten it up, but as I said, I've got to get everything that's still loose. And last thing I suppose, I ended up, that's at an angle, look, but I ended up drilling that hole by hand, right, and then filing the bottom so it fits. And if you look, it just needs as I say, a bit of fine tuning, but if you look, it actually does slide in and out in line with the piston. So that's another impossible job I've done. Alright, thanks again. Bye for now.